So I'm just going to go through this article Audit very briefly because my last one was an hour, so I'm trying to keep this one short. But this article really bothers me. There's so much wrong with this. A viral story spread, the mainstream media rushed to keep up, the Trump internet pounced. So, a viral story spread. Okay, like, spread by who? Spread by the media. That's the media's job. The media rushed to keep up. Well, so what you're saying there is the media was not that good. The media did not keep up with the story, which is weird because the media is the one that usually has a lot of influence on the narrative. Like, not even usually, they have influence on the narrative. So it's not like they were behind. It's not like the story was going without them. They were the ones reporting on this story. They were the ones really pushing it and making it popular. Like, they were the ones that originally put it out there to millions of people. So they had a hand in this. This was not something they were completely innocent on. They screwed up. And then it says the Trump internet pounced, which is one thing to say, oh, like, it was the Trump internet that proved this, that went out and attacked all the people. No, it seems like pretty much everyone that wasn't on the far left or like the far left establishment were like, yeah, we were wrong. We're like, yeah, you guys are wrong. Not we were wrong. You guys were wrong. Like, this is not actually what happened. This was not it seems like a partisan thing, but I think pretty much all the like independents and centrists, they know the true story. They saw what happened and they were like, yeah, the media screwed up. I don't think this is something that strictly happened on the Trump internet. But the video, the article basically says, the video was taken from an Instagram account. You only had one side of the story. The media didn't know about the other side of the story at the time. They asked the Catholic students for some kind of statement. They called the Catholic school, asked for some kind of like, can anyone represent us and provide a statement? Which they couldn't. They got Philip's side of the story. And they basically, that's what they referenced. They put out the original story that turned out to be false. Nick Sandman, the guy that was smiling, the guy behind the assault smirk, as it's called, released a statement 24 hours later that said, no, this is actually what happened instead. Another video of the incident emerged, which, as far as I can tell, this second video was around at the time of the first video as well. So I question, like, how much of a research did they take the time to go through and look for more angles and more to the story, or did they only report on just the one angle? So it took off like, as they say, the story took off with comet-like speed. That is true. Propelled in equal measures by social media outrage. Yeah, there was a lot of outrage and hate there from the left-wing establishment there, and by certain celebrities, and that's something that, yeah, it's bad. It was very bad. By news reporting that drafted on its wake, in a now all too familiar process, people chose sides, each fed off the other, with mainstream news accounts pushing the whole slush pile along. As is typical in such breaking news situations, initial news accounts, which drew howls from partisans on both sides, were unable to provide all the context and facts. It took close to 48 hours for reporters in a divided America to fully grasp what had occurred and to whom. And then President Trump weighed in with a tweet supportive of the schoolboys, kicking the dust cloud up anew. I don't think Trump, really... Maybe it's just my own bubble, but I think Trump didn't really, fuel the fire that much more. I think it was already going, and him weighing in really didn't add too much from something. And it's, this seems like this blame, they're putting a bit of the blame on him here. Like, kicking the dust cloud out, and the dust cloud up. I cannot talk today. But no, this I don't think he really pushed it any further. This was something that was already going on. Like many viral outrage stories, the narrative becomes more complicated as more facts emerge, and more people stepped forward to talk about what they saw and experienced at that moment. So this is something that the media can't necessarily do, but I think everyone, including all the celebrities, because I'm putting the blame on them, the celebrities that were like, oh, this is awful, and these kids need to be destroyed, and clearly they're evil people. There's something called the 48-hour rule, and that is something that I try to abide by as best I can. And when I don't, I make that quite clear. I think I make that quite clear, and that I don't have all the I'm interpreting it based on the information I have, and we can't say for sure on certain things that 48 hours before we don't have all the information. But there is a 48-hour rule, which basically says if you're going to put out something that says, put out some kind of condemnation. If you're going to say some kind of thing yes, these kids are horrible people. If you're going to say, oh, this is what happened. This is what happened. For sure, definitely. If you're going to make conclusions, wait 48 hours. Give it 2 days, and that's generally enough time for all of the information, or at least enough information to come out. Even if, I'm not saying don't say anything for 48 hours, but if you are going to say something in the first 48 hours, keep that in mind. Make that clear. We don't have all the information. That this is something that we're just starting to understand. Just don't make condemnations after 3 hours of a story being out. Don't call for like doxing students 3 hours after a video's out. But yeah, basically the post is saying they updated their story. Journalists worked diligently on Saturday and Sunday to prevent the facts of the incident as we learned them. For the students and their defenders, attempts by the media to widen the narrative of the first viral video came too late. Online vigilantes had identified the teens. Sandman said he had received physical and death threats via social media as well as hateful insults. Now a new viral outrage emerged. This time the villain of the story was the news media. Yes, that outrage came from a parallel universe online, acting as if this is something totally different. I mean, I suppose you could say it's the alt media, which is, as in a sense, the opposite of the mainstream media. The pro-Trump internet has, for years, worked to create a media environment that is designed to destroy the traditional news media and replace it. This makes it seem so much more deceptive than it actually is. You have to remember that this is something that like the Washington Post, for example, is against the alternative media. No surprise there. Big news flash. Like, competitors are against other competitors. Like, Washington Post is against their competitors. Surprise, surprise. The alternative media is, surprise, surprise, against the mainstream media. Like, that's how business works. They are against their competitors. So, of course, whenever the mainstream media says something bad about alternative media and doesn't back it up, that's just what competitors, like, that's what business competitors do. It's like if Coke comes out and says something bad about Pepsi, can you really trust that? Not too much. And then they go after Mike Cernovich, of all people. Again, it's like, is Mike Cernovich an alternative media figure? Yes, but now what they're doing is just cherry picking. They're going through thousands of alternative media personalities, picking one and saying, oh my god, this guy pushed a conspiracy theory, therefore he's fake news. And yeah, the Pizzagate thing, as far as I can tell, turned out to be false. And even if it was true, the thing is, like, even if there was true, there was no evidence. That's my issue. There was a lot of stuff that looked pretty bad, and at the time, I understand, at the time, I was like, yeah, this could be true. But I never said it was true, because we didn't have any specific, we had a lot of leads, which I have nothing wrong, I have nothing against people saying, yeah, this Pizzagate thing is interesting, let's look into this further. I had nothing against people saying, like, this is a lead. This is something we might want to look into. This is something like this. These are the connections I'm making. What if this is true? Like, this is interesting. I had nothing against people doing that, which is what most of the Pizzagate people did. I have nothing against that. What I do have a problem with were the people that were like, yeah, this is definitely true. Like, these people are evil. Like, that you can't take this into your arsenal of knowledge without hard, direct evidence. And that's what the issue I had with some of the Pizzagate people was just, they were like, yeah, this is definitely true. Like, the only reason we don't have evidence is because the people are hiding it. I'm fine with making assertions, saying, like, yeah, this seems to be true, let's look into it more. But at that point, I guess that's really all that. I know people will go after me for that. I'm not saying the Pizzagate people are bad people. I'm saying the people that went a bit too far with it, saying it was definitely true. But then again, at the same time, the media, like, when I'm looking at this, they're like, oh, they went to promote the Pizzagate conspiracy theory. Well, what's wrong with promoting conspiracy theories? like, hey, that's the thing I always bring back to 9/11, for example. Like, 9/11 is a conspiracy, no matter what you look at, no matter how you look at it. Either it was a conspiracy of the U.S. government, it was a conspiracy of Saudi Arabia, or it was a conspiracy of a bunch of terrorists to blow up a building. Like, even the official story itself is a conspiracy. So again, once someone says conspiracy theory, it just kind of like it's meant to automatically say these people are nutty, because that they take that term and they twist it around to mean a bad thing. Now, are there some pretty crazy conspiracies out there they're not based in evidence at all? Sure, flat earthers are one of them. But I hate when people just call someone a conspiracy theorist, because it's not in good faith. It's not meant to say this person this person went after. It's not meant to say this person, oh, they did some research on this and it turned out they were wrong. It's like, no, they're a conspiracy theorist. So yeah, this was just another attack right here. And this is to go back to not try to stray the sidelines here. Ultimately inspired a believer to show up at the shop with an assault rifle. These are the people I'm criticizing. The people that show up with guns to a pizza shop. I'm criticizing those people, not the people questioning narratives. I have nothing against people that question things. Cernovich has since rebranded himself as an anti-mainstream media source of real news, one who on some days tries to tie mass shootings to anti-fascist activists without credible evidence, and on other days manages to get a Hollywood director fired. He was the one that got, what's his name? Guardians of the Galaxy guy. James Gunn fired. That was him. The Covington story is the sort of thing the pro-Trump internet and figures like Cernovich are made for. So this is interesting here. Note how they just went through and they were like, oh, conspiracy theories, promoting conspiracy theories, didn't tie things to evidence, didn't tie things to evidence. And then they're like, oh yeah, this is just like the Covington story. So what you're doing there is you're automatically tying that to, oh, the people backing the Covington, or backing the story, saying the Covington kids were doing nothing wrong. The same people backing that story were the ones saying crazy things with no evidence. So what you're doing is you're trying to go after them and say this is not true. You're tying, you're trying to imply that the Covington story is pushed by people that don't push things with evidence. So that's the issue I have here. You're not actually acknowledging that the Covington kids were doing nothing wrong, which is something we can say here with like, it's not biased media. It's not being biased to say that the kids did nothing wrong. I think we have so much evidence at this point that we can say they did nothing wrong. I think that's so much in the clear here. As videos emerged showing Phillips slowly approaching the teens during an altercation with a third group nearby, they went to work. Stupid scroller. C.J. Pearson, a teen conservative activist, collected tweets from verified users, including journalists and celebrities, who had negatively reacted to the first video of the confrontation. Pearson posted updates on his project with the hashtag #VerifiedBullies and promised to pass on the list to legal counsel and the Covington Catholic students. An anonymous group of students and parents spoke to the Gateway Pundit, telling the right-wing news site that they'd retained the services of Robert Barnes, a lawyer popular in pro-Trump circles. On Twitter, Barnes offered to represent the students free if they wanted to sue a New York Times reporter who asked if any students would be expelled for the behavior seen in the original video. A lot of lawyers are beginning to take these cases. Some of y'all are going to be gawkered, which is a good reference to the fact that, yeah, Gawker got sued into oblivion because they put out fake news. And they destroy, like, the big thing was Hulk Hogan. Like, Hulk Hogan sued him. And he won, and they had to shut down. Good riddance. Gawker was nuts. According to the pro-Trump media, the Covington teens were blameless. The only victims who mattered. And this is weird. According to the pro-Trump media, the Covington teens were blameless. So, according to the media that you just went after as saying, or just putting out fake conspiracy theories, and they're not backed by evidence, according to the pro-Trump media. So, that's what I have the issue here. They're not acknowledging that the kids were blameless. And I don't think that's bias. I don't think that's bias to say the kids were blameless. That's just what the facts showed. That's the job of journalism, to say these kids were blameless, to diffuse the situation. But they're not admitting that. They're saying, oh, well, it's really a toss-up. It turns out we had more information, and now things are much more like, where's the apology? Where's the admission of wrongdoing? They were right. Like, the pro-Trump media was right here. It just seems like they're going after him and saying, oh, they're like, they tie him to all these things. Oh, they do this without evidence. They said this without evidence. They said this without evidence. Now, I'm not going to go through on whether those things had evidence or not, but that's not the point of any of this. The point is they're trying to they're going after and bad-mouthing all of their competitors and saying, oh, well, now they're saying that the kids apparently did nothing wrong. It's like, no, we know they did nothing wrong. Like, this is what the evidence shows. Ben Garrison, a cartoonist, drew his version of the scene. Now, originally I was a bit upset at him saying his version of the scene. Obviously, like, Ben Garrison draws things and amplifies how he saw it. Obviously, what he drew was not exactly what happened because his art style is different. He amplifies. That's what cartoonists do. They amplify certain things. But overall, Ben Garrison reflected reality. It was a hyperbolic version of what really happened. So I take a little bit of an issue with his version of the scene, because obviously it was hyperbolic, but it was still true. The liberal backlash against the teens and who had apologized and who hadn't, and whether those apologies were sincere enough, became a breaking news story on the pro-Trump internet. I don't think it became a breaking news story on the pro-Trump internet. I think it became a breaking news story on the internet. Like, as far as I can see, this isn't something restricted just to, like, the Trump supporters. This is something that pretty much, I think the vast majority of people were like, yeah, this is what happened after we saw the evidence. The evidence is pretty clear. And I know that because I follow lots of people who are anti-Trump. I follow lots of people who are pretty neutral towards Trump. Like the libertarian, I follow loads of libertarians that are not pro-Trump. And they were like, yeah, the kid did nothing wrong. The kids did nothing wrong. Amid speculation that the boys might get an invitation to the White House, Savannah Guthrie announced the Sandman would be interviewed Wednesday on the Today Show. Guthrie posted a video, the two of them on Twitter sitting in front of the camera. Sandman was smiling. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the article. Still a little bit longer than I wanted, but that's pretty much it. I saw no apology here. Notice there was no admission of wrongdoing here. It's saying, oh well, the media couldn't keep up. Well, that's the media's job. They're the ones that rush forward with a story. That's your job. I get sometimes it can be like, I don't expect them to be perfect. But the crazy thing is there wasn't even an apology here. Now, if they went through and apologized and said, yes, we screwed up. Yes, we are completely in the wrong. These kids did nothing wrong. Then I would give them a little bit of leeway because they would at least say, yes, we put out fake news. We screwed up. But they didn't say that here. All they did, like, if I were to summarize this article, what did they do? They said we put out a story. The story turned out not to have all the facts, but I mean, that's like not really our fault. We just kind of reported it as we saw it. Then we said, well, actually, there's a different story that says the kids did nothing wrong, and that's from the pro-Trump internet, which is known for conspiracy theories and known for all this and that and this. And putting out fake news and that, and they say things without evidence and all that. And then they just badmouth the people that put out the true story. And they're like, oh, well, they said this. They said that actually things weren't entirely true. That's what I have a problem with here. It's one thing to say that it's one thing to kind of straddle the middle when all the evidence isn't there, which I do sometimes. Like in certain articles, I try not to take a position on things where the facts aren't entirely clear. I try to say this is what I think, but I'm not really sure. I try to do that because the last thing, like, I am much more afraid. I would rather be that person that says I don't have all the facts than be the person that's like, yes, this is definitely true, and get something wrong. So that's what I try to do. That, like, I try to make it clear how much information I have. And looking at this, I'm quite confident that this article was written in bad faith. That's the thing. I can say that. Like, I could be wrong, but I'm quite confident that they wrote this just trying to save themselves, and they didn't even admit that they did anything wrong. They attacked the people that said that corrected them. So this is interesting here. The Washington Post, 2 writers for the Washington Post, are attacking the people that put out the correct story. Like, that's what I have an issue with. I just completely tangented off my original point I made like 2 minutes ago, or I went to make 2 minutes ago, which was, if you want to take a non-biased, like if you want to go down the middle of something that's not perfectly clear, okay, that's fine. But on an issue like this, where we have all the facts, we have all the information, and we can say the kid didn't really do anything wrong, that's the media's job to say the kid did nothing wrong and try to diffuse the situation, because there are people that still think this guy is like Satan and literally Hitler, and they're sending him death threats and that. Like, there's a responsibility here. But yeah, I'll end that there with just, I think it's pretty clear how awful this article is. I will leave it in the description if you want to read through it. Unfortunately, the Washington Post has some kind of like ad wall up, so as you can see, all the ads are here because I couldn't shut that off. I hate turning on ads for an article I don't like. So be aware when you click the article that you'll have to give them ad views or whatever that's called. But let me know what you think in the comments section. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.